Bien, je pense qu'on va reprendre. Bonjour à tous, Monsieur les ministres, Your Excellencies, Abdallah Al-Attiyah. I'm very delighted to attend this fourth conference, actually to sponsor as well this fourth conference, and to be in Beirut with you today. I'm delighted, but to tell you the truth, I'm a bit concerned. Concerned because I feel I'm going to disappoint you. I'm not going to talk about what we are going to do in the next round of the offshore Lebanon. And the reason is simple, as the minister has rightly mentioned. It's going to be a competitive process. It's going to be a tender. And I'm not going to tell you, because I'm not going to tell my competitors what I'm going to do. As Abdallah said, at the end of the day, it's business, so he has to remain business. Nevertheless, what I'm going to try to do is to explain in which context the tender is going to take place, the oil and gas context, and the way a company like ours, Total, is managing the crisis we are experimenting in the last 2 years, the consequence for you. And I will finish by telling you a bit of our history, the story of Total in Middle East that Abdallah knows very well, to give you as well an insight of if I were Lebanon, how would I choose my partner, not for the next 5 years, but for the next 50 years. So, as I say, I'm not going to talk about the round, just one word. To say that first, we are very delighted to see that things are moving on, that thanks to the new government and the very active action of the energy minister, things are moving on. We've got decrees. I understand that we've got a fiscal law tomorrow, and we will work a lot from now to September to make the best proposal possible. And of course, I make a wish, we never know, is to be back next year for the 5th forum and to be able to, that time, speak about the tender, how it went, and what could be done in the offshore Lebanon. So, first, the market. As you know, and I have not put on purpose the slide on price because everyone knows that the price went to 120 and collapsed in less than 6 months to go to 28 before it rebounded a bit at the 50 level. What is more interesting is to understand why that happened. And we are in a business school, so you know that the basic of the price is supply and demand. And the explanation is quite clear when you look at what happened to the increase of supply, which was much sharper than the increase of demand, which led to an sharp increase of the stock, which again led to the price drop we have experimented in the last 2 years. It's really a commodity business. And you have to realize that when prices are going from 100 to 30, for companies like us, that means billion and billion and billion of cash that is disappearing. And that's what you have to face, is that you have expense, you have people to pay, you have projects that are ongoing, and suddenly you don't have any more money. So you need to adjust, and there is not so many industries where the adjustment is so tough as the oil and gas one. One consequence of that is obviously that investment has dropped. More than 700 billion before 2014, around 400 billion now. That's a sharp decrease, which means that you've got very little projects that are sanctioned today, or has been in 15 and 16, and that will have an impact in 2018, 19, 20. That's one. Second, what you see as well is that with the price decreasing, you see that demand remains strong. and you can see in the chart that continue to grow, but at the same time that inventory remain as well quite high. So I'm not going to forecast price. I'm completely unable to do that. But what is sure is that you've got positive news. The first one is obviously the quite unique agreement of OPEP and non-OPEP countries. You clearly have all those projects that are not sanctioned, and so you can hope for at some point stabilization of supply. At the same time, and the OPEP and non-OPEP, at the same time, we see as well that you have an increase again of the rig count in the US and of the shale oil production that's going in the other direction. What is interesting, and the big lesson of that, is that oil and gas is a commodity business, and by definition is volatile, and that the price will continue to go from a very high side to a very low side and through a cycle. And the lesson for our industry is the fact that we have to be able to manage what we control through the cycle. And I will come back to that, because what we control at the end of the day, it's our cost, it's our productivity, it's our portfolio, and we need to have a policy, a robust one, that allows us to manage that cycle. I know that you are probably going to be more interested by gas than oil, so I show you as well the same impact on gas. And what is interesting on gas is that, as was said by His Excellency Abdallah Al-Attiyah, before 2014 you really had free markets, completely disconnected. One in the US with a lot of shale gas and a low price at around $3 per million BTU. One in Europe, where you had some supply coming from Middle East, and as well the gas coming from Russia by pipe. And one in Asia, where apart from the domestic production, most of it was coming from Middle East via LNG. And a complete disconnect between those free markets, with plenty of arbitrage to be made. That situation has dramatically changed with the crisis we had, and today those free markets are much closer. You still have a price which is lower in the US, but you can see that the NBP, the UK marker, is now quite close to the price of gas in Asia. That has obviously a lot of consequence. One of them is that because price is now much cheaper, it's more used, because once again demand is reacting to price, which I believe is a very good news. The second aspect is the fact that we have not yet started to see, or you are just seeing, the first export from the US, gas export through LNG from the US to Europe, and that it's going as well to help those free markets to be interconnected, and that's a big change in the market. We could have the feeling today that the market is plenty of gas everywhere, that with the shale gas revolution in the US, gas is abundant, that it can be exported, and that it's going to be difficult for any country finding gas today and trying to export it to find customers. That's not our view. Our view, we are definitely convinced that gas is the energy of the years to come. And as you can see on the right chart, that despite the increase of the shale gas industry, if you want to meet demand in 2025, you will need to sanction new projects, a lot of them, and that there are definitely a place for additional gas projects. That's even more true if I switch to LNG. So not only the gas by pipe, but as well the LNG industry, where when you look at what happened in 15 and 15 to 16, what is fascinating is to see the sharp increase of the LNG production on one side, but demand on the other side. And that demand is not only coming from the usual suspect, China, India, Japan, but as well a part of the market which include Latin America, which include Pakistan, which include Philippines, which include Middle East with import in Abu Dhabi and Kuwait. And what is currently happening is that with improve of productivity, with a decrease on cost, you see more and more countries importing LNG, investing in small, what we call FSRU, floating storage and regasification unit, that allows them to import LNG in a very efficient way, and usually to displace what they usually use for their power generation, which is to say either coal or fuel. And you can see on the right part of the slide all the projects that are today proposed of those small FSRU. As Total, we are partnering with Qatar in Pakistan today. We've got projects in Morocco, in Ivory Coast, in South Africa, in Brazil, of that type of technology. And so we are, again, quite confident that the LNG market will continue to grow and that new project will have to be sanctioned if you want to supply the market post-2000, let's say 22, 23, 24. But you have to know that an LNG project today, if you decide it today, you will have the first gas in 5 years. So that's the project that you have to decide in the coming years to be able to supply the market when we need it. So just to summarize, we are in a commodity business. It's a volatile market. Prices are clearly low in the current environment, but at the same time, we believe that there will be a place to sanction new projects. Faced with that reality, what do we do? As an oil company, you work on what you control. And what you control is your operational excellence, your cost, and the projects you choose. Operational excellence, that's key for us. By operational excellence, I mean first safety. Whatever we do, we have to be sure that one, all our employees go back home safe at night, and second, that you manage the risk. When we'll come to Lebanon, I mean, if you do offshore, you are going to do offshore in the Mediterranean Sea. It's a closed sea with plenty of neighbors. You have to be extremely serious in the way you are going to choose your partner, because you need to be sure that your partner are going to guarantee the fact that they respect the environment, they are very conscious of the risk they are handling, and they are going to do everything to guarantee the safety of their operation. It's for us absolutely key. And we are very proud to have set a new record in the industry. Obviously, the first criteria for us is to avoid to have fatalities in our operation. And unfortunately, every year in the oil and gas industry, you have fatalities. Not a lot. 10, 12, 15. But that's clearly 10, 12, 15 too many. Within Total, last year, we set a record with more than 400 days without fatalities, and we are very proud of that. Unfortunately, in India, mid-December, one of our drivers lost his life, and we are back to that count that we follow every day. I'm sorry to insist on that, but I think that it's really one of and probably the core value of what should be one of the core values of our industry, that aspect of safety, respect for life, and respect for environment that should be at the heart of our action. The second aspect is obviously cost. When the price goes from 100 to 50, you have to do something on cost. And that's exactly what we did. To give you an example, we start early. We start in 2014, actually, before price collapsed, with a target of more than 1 billion in 15 versus our spend in 14. And we developed that program. We have reached 2.8 billion saving in 16. In E&P, it's around 2 billion. 2 billion versus a pool of expense of 8. So that's a lot of money. I mean, you are talking 20% decrease, so it's a lot of money. And the target has been set to 4 billion in 2018. To do that, obviously, you have to take advantage of the market, because prices are decreasing, so costs are decreasing. But you have as well fundamentally to review the way you operate, what you are doing, your operating philosophy, the way you buy, what you do. And we have a lot to learn from the rest of the group. When you are upstream, you know, when you go and see a supplier, you know that you have money. So when I compare what I pay to what we pay in marketing and services, you can be surprised of the difference of cost. And you have to take action. And that's exactly what we do. Once again, and that's a message, in the partner you are going to choose tomorrow, it's important to choose someone which is going to make a good exploration. But what is going to be at stake is the cost of your development. So you will have to be sure that you choose as well partners that will be able to develop if you find, and we all hope you will find, projects in the most efficient way. And that's the ability to cut costs. As you see, Total has set as well a reference and a benchmark. You can see on the right chart that's our operating cost by barrel. They are the lowest of the industry, so we are extremely proud for that. But in addition, facing the crisis, we have been able to drive them down from a peak at 10 to currently at 5.9, trying to target 5 by 2018. And 5, it's actually, you could look aggressive versus 10, but when you compare at what we were doing in the year 2000, I'm not talking about 1990s, we are quite confident we will achieve those targets. Obviously, that's true for our operating expense. It has to be true as well for the cost of project. And just give you a small example. That's a small development in Africa, deep offshore. And I use the deep offshore example because it can be of use tomorrow for Lebanon as well. Voilà, in 1 year, because you work differently, we have been able to cut the cost of the project by half. And because we've done that, we are going to sanction that project, and something where we were not able to take the investment decision should be taken soon. Obviously, you face a crisis, so you have to adjust, but you have to think long term. And long term means development. And the basis in our industry, when you want to develop, you first have to find oil and gas, which means exploration. I just give you an overview of what we did in 16, where we have found 500 million barrels of oil and gas. And we've got an extensive program worldwide for 17. What is interesting as well is that our exploration budget has decreased a lot, from 3 billion to, as you can see, 1.25. But it's not because in terms of money we spend less that we don't drill. And you have a really good example with the number of wells we were able to drill in 16 in a certain price environment, and what we are going to be able to do in 17 with a lower budget, but significantly more wells. Well, otherwise, you can see that it's clearly a worldwide game with a global portfolio. The second aspect of development is obviously sanctioning projects, investing in new projects. And what we believe in Total is that you have to build on your strength. And the strength of the company, if you look at technology, is LNG, gas, and deep offshore, which actually fit quite well Lebanon, but it's just by chance. We are going to sanction, we are currently developing, and I've given you two examples. One is an LNG project in Russia called Yamal LNG, the other one in Australia. That's just a gigantic project. Huh? You are talking above 30 billion of investment in both cases, so that gives the order of magnitude of the project we are talking about. And you can see that Total will increase sharply his LNG capacity. Same for deep offshore, which is clearly a trademark of the company. Why am I insisting so much on gas? Reason is simple, is that we all have to take into account in our strategy the Paris Agreement, the fight against greenhouse gas, and clearly within Total, we have decided to integrate the 2-degree scenario of the IEA in our strategy. But it's not just word. I mean, it's word in action. Because when you say that, you have to take action. The action is first to say you have to target oil with a low-cost price, because it's not completely obvious that all the oil of the planet will be developed if you want to meet the 2-degree scenario. That's one. Second, you have to develop gas, because gas is much cleaner than coal, because gas is part of the solution for the 2-degree scenario, and that's why we so much insist on gas, and that's why actually you are right to try to develop your potential. We have exited the coal business. We don't do any more coal in the company, and as you know, perhaps I could answer a question on that. We are as well investing in solar. We are not in the top 3 in the world in the solar energy with our US affiliate, SunPower, and we invest as well in the battery with the recent takeover of Saft. I would like just to conclude briefly on our history in Middle East. For us, Middle East, that's where we born. Total is born in 1924 as a partner of the Iraq Petroleum Company, and with the discovery of Kirkuk. And we stay in that region since then. And that region represents today 25% of our production. We are there fully integrated with some refining, with some service station, and with probably the only company owning a stake in all the LNG plants in the zone. In Yemen, in Oman, in Qatar, in Abu Dhabi. So a very strong presence. That presence is not coming by chance, and it's not only because we are doing oil and gas. You can't stay in those countries if you don't give back, and that's a very important aspect for us. And giving back, what does that mean? That means that first, you are there for the long term. You are there when things goes well, but you are there when as well things goes wrong. And Qatar is very well placed to know that in the 90s when it was difficult, Total stand by them to develop their LNG industry. So that's one. Second, you have to give back to the society. You have to give back to small companies, to the private business, to the local business. You have as well to give back in terms of education. I didn't know that Sheikh Abdallah Al-Attiyah was coming this morning, but it's by chance that I took the example of HSE in Qatar, and I'm really sorry for the ESA. I know it's a competitor, but it's not on purpose. But you have to give back. It's clear that you have to give back, and we are very proud to have sponsored actually that executive MBA and that MBA, and the fact that HSE implant itself in Qatar. Alors, le Liban, on connaît les relations de proximité avec la France, donc c'est beaucoup plus simple et vous en avez beaucoup moins besoin. Mais on sera évidemment content également de poursuivre les liens qu'on a avec les universités locales. But trust me, when you are in Middle East and when you are in the Gulf, France is known, but they speak English. So the ability to push forward la France, la francophonie et l'éducation à la française is as well something to which we are very much attached, and you have to give back. The last point I would like to mention is that we are not talking short-term history. Developing an oil and gas industry is about long-term. It's about partnership. And I would like just to highlight that through a free example, because in the last 18 months we have been able to renew in 3 countries, very important for us, our presence. And I think that they are a good example of what can be done. The first one is obviously Abu Dhabi, where 2 years ago now, we renew our 75 years concession. It was something that last 75 years, that was terminating in 2014, and that we have just renewed for 40 years. That's more than 115 years of relation with the country. And you talk serious business. It's just 10% of half the onshore production of Abu Dhabi, which is one of the top 5 countries in the world. That's the kind of relation on which we are proud to build, and that we believe is creating the maximum value in the country where we are. The second one is obviously Al Shaheen. This one I couldn't avoid, which is half the production of oil of Qatar. I'm just talking oil in that case, not gas. But where there was a tender last year for a field of 300,000 barrels of production, half the production of Qatar, and that Total win, and we are very proud of that for another 25 years. And where we will bring all our technology. And the last one is the case of Iran, where, as you all know, we were in that country in the early 2000s. We had to stop our presence because of the international sanction, but we keep a small office in the country, and we are very happy to have signed in November a head of agreement to be back as well in this country to develop their gas reserve. So still has to be transformed in a full contract, but I thought it was interesting to state as well that example that we never quit a country. From time to time, it's more difficult, but we try to keep and stay the course. The last slide will be my conclusion, just to tell you that we know the zone because we work on it as well. We are going to spud in July a well in Cyprus, offshore Cyprus. We are in offshore and onshore Egypt, and my wish is to come next year and to be able to complete that map, but it will be up to you to choose. Thank you very much.
Chers amis, il faut que je parle en anglais, je crois, parce que... thank you, Stéphane Michel, for your great intervention. On behalf of Front Page Communication, I'm delighted to present you with a trophy in celebration of Total's 66 years presence in Lebanon, in war and in peace, and with unwavering commitment to act as messengers of prosperity at each juncture. We wish Total continuing success in Lebanon and the MENA region under your inspiring leadership. Thank you.